Sarah Sati from Mindful Island. Today I want to talk to you about a challenge that all beginning meditators face, and that is the question of should you lie down or sit up during your practice? The simple answer is you should sit up. You want to generate in your meditation practice a sensation of being alert and awake. And lying down, because it's the position that you take when you go to sleep, automatically dulls the mind a little bit. Now, that's the simple answer, but I will give you a little bit more complex understanding, which is that if you have a physical illness or injury or any other type of injury or illness, it may be the case that you have to lie down. And if that's the situation, I'm going to show you a solution for that as well. But let's just assume that you're pretty much healthy. Maybe you have some stiff hips, but that's nothing we can't work with. If you're pretty much healthy, then definitely you should be sitting in your meditation practice, barring any really serious fatigue. But how do you want to do that? How do you want to maintain a comfortable position? So if you notice here, I'm on the ground and I'm sitting and my knees are just about level to my hip bones. This is an okay position to be sitting in for your meditation practice. And the legs can be any way that feels comfortable to you, crossed or stacked in some way. But even for me, I have an open pelvis, some open hips. Even for me, this would be uncomfortable to sit for very long. So in my meditation practice, I always sit on a little bit of support, and that's what I encourage you to do as well, even if you have open hips and an open pelvis. I use a meditation cushion. These you can purchase online, but you can actually find anything that's around your house and use that just as easily. If you have some yoga blocks, those can be great. Wood is a little bit less great than a softer surface, but it's nice to have the feedback on your sitting bones. I'll tell you in a minute why. You can also use a blanket or a pillow. And basically, you just want to sit on top of it in such a way that your pelvis tilts just ever so slightly forward. So you don't want it falling forward and the lower back to be overarched. You want it to be as neutral as it can be with a little slight forward lean. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to lift the spine in its most neutral and natural position. And during your meditation practice, you should be considering how to keep your spine in its neutral position. So if it's the case that you sit on a little bit of height and you're more comfortable like this, awesome, this is enough. But if it's the case that you sit on a little bit of height and your hips are tighter and your knees come up higher, then you want to put more height underneath you. How much height? You want to put as much height as you need to get your knees level or just slightly below your hip bones. Now, what happens when you do that? When you do that, it might be very painful to hold your legs in this position for a long period of time. And that makes sense because it's an effortful position. So to help yourself relax slightly, you can I use yoga blocks, but you can use anything you have around the house and put some support just underneath the outer thighs. So just to reiterate, I'm sitting slightly forward so that the pelvis has a very slight tilt. I'm on the front of the cushion. My sitting bones are moving back slightly, but I'm sitting to the front of my sitting bones, and my outer thighs and knees are supported here. In this way, I'm able to sit for quite a long time without feeling overly uncomfortable. Now, you're definitely going to feel uncomfortable, especially in the beginning stages of your seated practice, so you're going to have to get used to that, and that's another topic altogether. But we want to protect your body as much as possible and give you this openness and this alert posture so that you can go into the mind and work with what you're working with. Okay, so that's how to sit and how to keep your body as comfortable as possible seated. But what about if you have some issue and you have to lie down? And there are times throughout my practice life where I have had to lie down, either because I have an injury or because I'm really, really exhausted and I still want to practice. So what can you do to make sure that you're still able to practice, but you practice in a way that keeps your mind alert even though you're lying down? Okay, so a solution that I use for that is you don't want to lie on the bed. Now again, it may be the case you have to lie on the bed depending on the injury or the illness or whatever you're dealing with, circumstances. But if you can avoid it, you want to lie on a semi-hard surface. And that's because it doesn't mimic the bed, and in that way it'll keep the mind slightly alert. Another trick that I use is I take a blanket, and it can be any type of blanket that you have, and I make a small roll out of it. Now, it really depends on your flexibility and your openness of body and what's comfortable for you, how small or large the roll will be. I can take a pretty large roll and I like that feeling, but you might want something a little bit smaller. It's really up to you and it always depends on the day. So I take a small roll or a medium roll like this, I make a little bolster, and then I place it behind myself and I sit right in front of it. I sit just about a fist width distance away from the edge of the bolster, and I line that bolster or that blanket up along the spine. Say I'm really tall, I can put some additional support, pillows or something behind the head. You see what this does for me is it allows my chest to remain open, and in that open way, it doesn't mimic sleep and I'm able to stay more alert. Now, if this causes discomfort for the lower back, the first thing you should try is scooting the buttocks a little bit more forward. The lower back should not be compressed on the blanket. And the next thing that you can do is either put your calves up onto some support. This helps rest the lower back. Or you can keep your knees bent and let the two knees fall in towards each other. Take the arms out into the sides and close the eyes and meditate from this position. Some of our Mindful Island prescription meditations, we even suggest this might be something good for you to do while lying down because it's more about working with the physical body. And so in that case, this is the kind of lying down position that you would want to use. Other than that, you're ready to go. I hope these tips are helpful for your practice, and I hope you have a beautiful, long, healthy practice life. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sati from Mindful Island.